So the sermon today comes also from the Catechism for the New Dispensation by Reverend Dr. Gani. And it talks about, this sermon today, about time and the creation of our problems. How we create our problems in our life. So the process of regressing is a very slow process, a seemingly imperceptible one. It's slow. If you think about a clock, not a digital clock, an old clock that I don't think kids can read anymore, a clock, but a clock with a second hand, you see the second hand moving. You're aware of that. But you don't see the minute hand moving, let alone the hour hand move. And yet they do. And yet they move. Seconds add up to minutes, minutes add up to hours, hours add up to days, to weeks, to years, to a lifetime. And suddenly we are astonished that time has passed us. We're in July? What? Are you kidding me? Halfway through the year. So constructing a life based on selling out, based on approval seeking, based on misconceptions, takes a long time. But like air pollution, it starts killing you, and it kills you slowly. And one day, suddenly, you have a disease of the lungs. But you didn't contract that disease overnight. You contracted it over a long period of time. You have breathed in polluted air for a long period of time. You have sought approval for a long period of time. You have made the same mistakes for a long period of time. And you've slowly contaminated yourself. You've slowly contaminated your own air, what you breathe, what you take in, with these distortions. One day you feel utterly trapped by the distortion, by the bad habit, and you say, how did I get here? How did I get here? So I'll give you an example. You find yourself suddenly enslaved by the habits you formed through approval seeking. Now, what is approval seeking? It's looking for love. What do I need to be? What do I need to become in order to find love? To be accepted by my parents, by my friends, by my peers. How do I mold myself into something that is more likely to be loved than my real self? I don't trust. I don't trust that the real me will be loved. So I have to do all kinds of things. I have to be a certain profession. I have to drive a certain car. I have to live in a certain neighborhood. I have to get my parents' stamp of approval. I enslave myself through approval seeking. I have to have a lot of money because I have to sustain a particular lifestyle that I've convinced myself that I have to maintain. Because I have to become this or that. To please my mother, my father, my teacher, my friends, the false self. Now all of this comes imperceptibly, slowly, unseen. unseen. It's unseen because we choose not to perceive it. We choose not to see, boy, I'm denying my real self when I think that I have to wear this or that to be loved. It's imperceptible. And we numb ourselves imperceptibly, slowly, numbing ourselves to what's going on in our life, to our inner conscience. This is not you. This is not you. Collectively, as a planet, we numb ourselves and have numbed ourselves to the destruction of our environment, the subtle destruction. What's one little piece of trash thrown in the ocean? Imperceptible because we choose not to see it. Individually, we are gradually betraying our innermost selves, becoming who we are not, becoming who we are supposed to be. Now, this is all false. This is all harmful. This is all evil. Now, the good thing about evil is that it cannot sustain itself. It will collapse. Goodness is infinite. Darkness, negativity is finite. Evil, darkness will never be infinite. It will collapse at some point. It will collapse. So when this system doesn't work, suddenly there's going to be a crisis. And the system will never work. The system will never work. Physically, the abused body is going to collapse. It will collapse. Disease will be created. Physical problems will manifest. It can't go on like this forever. Globally, the abused ecology will bring famine and starvation. Financially, the cultivation of falsehood will bring deficit, will bring bankruptcy. There is always an effect. And as Ingersoll said, in nature, there are neither rewards nor punishments. There are consequences. This is a spiritual law, the law of cause and effect, the law of karma. What I create sets in motion actions that will create an effect, will create a consequence. There will be consequences to my actions. There are always consequences. Now, I found this quote by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. He was talking about the Soviet Union. He wrote a book called The Gulag Archipelago about the outrages that were going on in Russia or in the Soviet Union. And he was talking about how people keep silent about what's going on, about evil. In keeping silent about evil, in burying it so deep within us that no sign of it appears on the surface, we are implanting it. And it will rise up 1,000-fold in the future. That's on the global level. On the individual level, it's the same. If we numb ourselves to our sellouts, to the little impairments of integrity, if we keep on the surface that everything looks okay and we choose not to go any deeper, we're creating a problem down the road. Because these issues accumulate. How many impairments of integrity? Thousands. How many little approval seekings? Thousands. Eventually, that will create a crisis. You see this in relationships. An easy example. There's a problem in the relationship. A partner chooses not to say anything. Okay, one time, nothing is said. The second time, nothing is said. The third time, nothing is said. The 1,000th time, the relationship is over. It's destroyed because of all those choices not to say anything. To numb, to be mute. It's creating inevitable destruction. So it is with everything in our life. If we choose to compromise, if we choose to be neglectful, impair our integrity, those things build up. The little choices we make every day. So appearance values, outer level values, always lead to poverty in the end. Only real value of goodness, of beauty and truth, bring riches. How do you define God? Goodness, beauty, truth. If you are grounded in those, you will find riches. If you are centered in appearance values, you're going to feel empty. You can have everything in the world and feel empty. You can have everything and be lost. So when we capitulate for success, when we sell our souls for a buck, when we sell our souls to be liked, for love, pseudo-love, for protection, to be taken care of, we sadly find that really none of that works in the end. One day we realize this. It doesn't work. The fame, the wealth, the protection, the fake love, it collapses. And we end up worse off. The benefit is if it collapses all at once. If there's a sudden big crisis. Because we are able to respond to a disastrous situation much better. That imprints it on our soul. A big crisis. But we don't want a big crisis. We don't want any kind of crisis. We resist it. We resist. We postpone crisis. I don't want to deal with this. This is too painful. We delay it. We deny. Anything but let the crisis explode. Now, what happens when we delay a bad situation? It gets worse. When it finally comes, it's a lot more severe. It's a lot more severe. So if we have to respond to one big dramatic event, although it feels like our life is crumbling before us, it's actually a lot better. It's a lot better because it's one dramatic change and that imprints itself on us. We're more likely to change with one dramatic event. It seared itself on my being. The other point is that negativity infiltrates your life slowly, insidiously. You don't even realize it. What's one little sellout? What's one little compromise? What's one little delay? What's one little neglect? What's one little laziness? It occurs, negativity infiltrates with the intentions of good-meaning people, well-meaning people, whose consciousness is limited. When we avoid self-responsibility, negativity infiltrates. When we avoid tolerating pain, it infiltrates. And eventually, we may create a body that feels like a prison. We may create a relationship that feels like a prison. We may create a work situation that feels like a prison, or a financial situation where we feel like we're drowning. And we create a crisis in our life. We box ourselves in. We, brick by brick, build a prison for ourselves. And this happens usually unconsciously. We don't even see it happening. We don't want to see it happening. We deny it. We deny that we're building these bricks, or deny that we're constructing this edifice, because we're ashamed of it, because we are fearful of it, because we have a willful desire to not change, to maintain the status quo. And it looks like we're stable on the outside. No sign of it appears on the surface, but underneath it's bubbling and boiling, and it's just waiting to explode. So what do we do? Okay, this is doom and gloom. This sounds like, oh brother, what do we do? What do we do? Instead of delaying crisis, see it as a desirable occurrence. I want cause to meet effect. I want to reduce the delay in space and time. I want to feel the consequences of my actions quickly, so as to heal them. So what can I do on a daily basis? We have a practice here where we write, daily review. We look at our day in writing. Well, look at the bad habits that you have. The daily occurrences that you accumulate. When you say yes, when you should be saying no. The little lies. The little dishonesties. The little capitulations. The exaggerations that you do. The pretenses. The avoiding truth. Then use your imagination to take it to its absurd conclusion. Okay, I don't exercise today, right? It's hot, it's 100 degrees. I don't want to get out there. I don't want to exercise. Okay, one little day, one little choice. But then tomorrow I'm less likely to move. I take this to its absurd conclusion. What is the crisis that I could be creating for my life? Physical weakness. Physical debilitation, gaining weight, being unable to move the way I want to move. One little choice in one little day. What is the consequence if I continue that choice? We do this with everything. If I say yes to my boss when I should be saying no, what does that do? If I keep saying yes, I'm going to create a nightmare situation in my work. And I will destroy this job. I take it on the very specific level. Very specific level. I spend this money on a Starbucks or on a Taco Deli taco when I don't have enough money. And I should be cooking at home. Or making my coffee at home. Okay, I choose to spend the $5 today. I choose to spend the $5 tomorrow. The end of the year, how much have I spent? What has this done to me financially? For my choice to just have a Starbucks drink. What is the consequence? What is the consequence? I don't know, 5 times 300, that's $1,500. What could I buy with $1,500 at the end of the year? Would my savings account be better with $1,500? These absurd conclusions we just draw out. Doing that, though, we experience the crisis. We start bringing to the plane of mind awareness. We start raising ourselves from just acting in life, just reacting, to navigating, to feeling, to raising our awareness to everything we're doing, to heightening our consciousness. This laziness, this negative choice today not to move, will have repercussions. This overspending today will have repercussions. What are the catastrophic conclusion to these everyday choices I'm making? So doing this, what are we doing? We are bringing cause and effect to the mental level and to the feeling level. We are raising it up. We are expanding our consciousness into the future. It's like you have a crystal ball, which we all have. We just choose not to look in it. I have a crystal ball, and I choose to see what are the consequences of my actions. What are the consequences of the insidious little habits that I have? Doing that, you will be motivated to change. You will feel outrage. You'll want to take action. You'll see that outrage at yourself as healthy, as positive. I've just seen the consequences of my negative behavior, and I don't like them. So the little things in your life, you blow off the little things. Like I slam the alarm clock in the morning. I resent getting up. That's slamming. I'm just slamming the alarm. What's 10 minutes of snooze? 10 minutes of snooze every day. What is the statement behind the slamming of the snooze button? I resent my work. I resent my task. I resent getting up. I resent moving. Well, I've just started my day poisoned. Not with goodwill. Not with goodwill. It's those little things, those little acts. The little things are much more important than the big ones. That's because big problems are so big that they're easy to deal with. You can't hide them. You can't hide them. They're a lot less obvious. They're already out in the open. You have to deal with them. The little things are insidious. You can hide them. You can hide them while they accumulate. You can hide them, and they will bring on a crisis that you didn't even expect. As I talked about recently, I know someone that just lost $300,000 in social media fraud or social engineering fraud. What's one little antivirus protection, What's the big deal? Are they going to get me? What's one little unchanged password? $300,000. But how many choices, how many times was that choice made? The little negativities are insidious. Evil works much more successfully with the little things, the bad habits, and then they eventually imprison us. So focus. This is an invitation to focus on the little things in your life and to make those changes, the little changes. You don't have to make giant changes, but the little changes are a step on your path of purification. The little adjustments in your life. Yes, I will not slam the snooze button this morning. I will get up when it rings. Let's see how my day changes from just that little choice. Yes, I will exercise for 20 minutes. I will make myself go outside. No, I will not eat half a pint of ice cream because I know it will make me sick. Little choices in our life, the little things. That increases our perceptiveness, becoming aware of these little things. And they help us stay on our path. They help us stay on our search to God. And so let's take a moment and go inside. That we may consciously raise our awareness to heighten our sensitivity to what we are doing with the little things in our life, and how that impairment of our integrity, how those little choices are molding our future, are shaping what we will experience in beauty or in pain, in happiness or in unhappiness. Consciously, we choose to take the necessary steps and make the right choices. The little right choices that are easy to do. Being stepping stones on our way to at-one-ment with God.